Hey, 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 Facebook. It's your girl, Luna. And yes, my account is down, but I believe we are alive on Marsha's page. So if you can see this, please go ahead and say hello. If you're replay, let us know that you are replay. But we can't talk. What we are doing today is we're actually going to be interviewing this incredible soul about her journey, just like the title says, from prison to prosperity. So let me tell you a little bit about this amazing woman who you've been following. And if you are somebody who is a follower of Marsha's, maybe go ahead and just let us know down below how long you've been connected with her, maybe how you first met her, all of the things. I know she has an incredible local community, so maybe you're blessed enough to know her in the real life. But I would love to know personally how you connected with her. And again, if you're like, Luna, what happened? We are still friends. Zuckerberg just took away my personal account for right now. So it'll be back in a couple days, fingers crossed. So still love you. But we're going to dive into this. So this is an incredible human being. Let me tell you. So as I started off, she came to me literally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marsha, would saying you were broke and not having a lot of options right out of prison, would that be accurate? Okay.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Broker than broke.
And what was it? Was it even a year until you were running a six-figure organization?
It was probably right around about a year and a half, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we say, like, literally we work with anybody, and I did not know this, okay? It doesn't matter if you're from Yale or from jail. Marsha's story is so powerful, and so I'm really excited to chat with her, to chat with you guys about her story, because stories are so powerful. So really, we're gonna have story time right now, and we're gonna dive into what has helped her be so successful. But a couple things that I can say, um, she is so strong first with her story and bravely telling it. And it's one thing to tell your story, and it's another thing to say, here's all the nitty gritty details and what I might be judged on, but I'm still going to be willing to tell you those parts, because those are the parts that are going to draw people in. So that being said, Marsha, and she gave me permission. Okay, before this, I was like, "Can we go deep? Like, can we really talk? Do we need a code word?" And she's like, "No, like it's fine. It's all right." Yeah. So there are no code words, friends. Like, so we're going nitty gritty about what happened. So I would love to know, like, let's rewind pre-prison. Okay, talk to me about that, Marsha, how we came to prison, and then where you were, like, mindset wise when you got out.
That is really, really good. So I grew up really in the all-American household. My parents were married to just each other. They've been married over 50 years. They're just amazing people. So I came from that background, but my problem was I didn't really have the self-esteem. So I entered into a lot of damaging relationships. And I was in church, and then my marriage to their dad was really, really rocky. I got mad at God and like left the church and then went all out. So started drinking, using drugs, and just got further and further and further into that lifestyle until finally it caught up to me. But it took about 10 years. So unfortunately, for about 10 years of my life, I kind of lost a lot in that span of time. It was a gradual, like nobody ever wakes up one morning and says, "Oh gee, I'm going to be an alcoholic today," or "I'm going to be a drug addict today." Like, it's a progressive thing, and there are gateways that get you there. But basically, in a nutshell, that's where I ended up. I was addicted to meth and alcohol, and just caught in a lifestyle that was just tormentuous. I'd even attempted suicide. So it was a very torturous state of life. I'd lost pretty much all ability to hold a decent job. And I had some really phenomenal jobs in my lifetime, but I just wasn't able to continue in the addiction and have a life. And it just spiraled. My kids got affected. Anyway, I'd ended up getting arrested. Ultimately, was looking at being sentenced to prison. And right before that, I just said enough was enough. Like, I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't do it on my own. I tried negotiating, and like, this is going to be my last bag. This is going to be my last drink. This is going to be my last this, that, the other. It never turned out to be the last one. It was always like, oh, well, maybe one more time. Even up until that weekend of being sentenced, I'm trying to negotiate how many shots I can have, because my attorney said, don't drink, don't do drugs, don't do nothing. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing drugs. Of course not. All right. So, it's like, well, how many shots can I have before, if they do test my alcohol level, and just doing that whole bad thinking thing. And then I woke up Sunday morning and I decided I was going to go to church with my family. And I was in that vehicle on the way to church that I just had that spiritual moment. Like it was that moment in time that said, this is it. You can't do this anymore. This is it. There has to be a change. There has to be something better than this. It has to be. And I just, in the very moment, I made such a spiritual connection with Christ, and he just took literally everything away. I mean, I was delivered from so much in that moment, like immediate deliverance. Like I don't think about having a drink. I don't think about using drugs. It's just like it never existed. So it's almost as if I'm talking about another person, because it's literally gone for me. Like I am just so thankful that I had that conversion moment, that it was like a switch. I did still hang on to the cigarettes and all of that, but that's where, that was the moment in time. That was the decisive moment before it actually went to prison. That was where I was at the day before I was sentenced. So that's kind of the leading up to there.
That is so powerful. And we're definitely going to get into the power of belief that I have seen personally firsthand, that you have partnered with. I don't even know the right word, but has totally transformed your organization. But I'd like to keep, and if anybody else is like, I need like more, like give us more, right? Like I'm like, I like, this is so good. So walk me through that. You said that was the day before the conviction. Like what happened? Like what was going through your body? I don't even know how long you served for. Like when the judge, do they actually do the gavel down? Like what happened? Walk us through that. And then the mental process while you were in there, like what did that look like? And then the release, like what happened when it's like, okay, I'm finally out. And
Yeah.
then what happened?
That is actually really a whole deep thing. So I got up Monday morning, I went into work. My parents, I went that Sunday, I went to church with my parents, and I had already had my spiritual encounter, but I made a public confession in their church, and we all celebrated, and it was great. And it was actually my youngest son's birthday was that day. He was the only one that didn't go to court. Anyway, Monday morning, I went to work, did all the things at work. I made everything in case I wasn't going to come back. But everyone was like, it's just contributing, you're not going to go to prison. You're going to get a slap on the wrist and blah, blah, blah. Well, as we heard things in court, there were things that were not true. And it sounded very egregious. Although any level of it, I take full responsibility for my actions, and the serving of, or access to alcohol, was the culprit of all of it. But we got fines paid. We were ready to go to court. I had an attorney. We'd worked out a plea. So, was the recommendation to not do time. And as we got into court and those statements were said and things were said, that there was really, it was a he said, she said. So there was no defense for it. It was just whoever's stories sounded the best. So once the judge made his opinion, I was remanded to South Carolina Department of Corrections. I then became property of SCDC and treated as such. I was given a number, 373699, and that number will forever be something to hang on to. It was 192 days, and it was the longest 192 days of my life. All I knew is that if God, we have consequences to our actions, but I believed that I was there for a purpose, that whatever was to happen was supposed to happen. And so, whatever I needed to experience and go through, I prepared myself for that. And I never was alone. God lined even things up in there, my cellmates, provision for a Bible, for books that I would read and things like that. So there were things that he did put into place, but it was very difficult to get through. You have all sorts of people in there. It was max security, so you didn't go anywhere without being escorted. You're right in common community with anyone from shoplifters, drug addicts to murderers. It's you're not just all putting this nice little minimum security, orange is the new black kind of thing. That's that nothing you see on TV prepares you for what you actually experience when you go in there. So the question was like, what are you doing in here? Like, you don't belong here. And of course I belong there. I broke the law. So it was just difficult because when you go in, I was sentenced to 3 years, suspended to 1. And that's all I heard. Like, I just blacked out whenever he gave that sentence. And then I was sentenced to a year of alcohol treatment and 3 years of probation. So the year of alcohol treatment was supposed to happen while I was in prison. When you go in there with 3 years suspended to 1, the attorney had my family thinking it'd be like, oh, she'll be out in 3 months. But there's like almost like a secret formula as to how they calculate. But from the moment you get there till the moment you leave, like, you really have no idea when you're getting out. Like, it is a constant torture through the whole path of when you're going to get out, when you're going to get out, when you're going to get out, when you're going to get out. And then when you get shifted from one place to the next place, you think, oh, okay, well, these people know more. And you're really going off of inmate information, which is highly inaccurate a lot of times. And so you're just calculating and trying to count down days, and you don't even know how many days you're actually counting down. So it's really one of those things that is super, super challenging from the moment you get there, because the unknown is really in every phase of life. The unknown is the hardest part of anything. And so just not knowing, I did not see my family the whole time. It was 4 hours away. And so that was really, really difficult. So you had to not have, you have to learn what we call EQ, emotional quotient. You have to learn what to respond to, what not to respond to, what's going to put you in a bad position, what you need to do to protect yourself while you're in there from other people that do not have your best interest at heart by any means. So there's a lot that goes into it. You learn a lot in the process. And there's only 2 women prisons in South Carolina. One's a level 3 and another's a level 2. Level 2 is where I went to be assigned for where I would do my time. And I was there for like a little over 30 days, I think. And then level 3 is actually where I went, which is the higher level of max security. So shackled and handcuffed. I mean, it was definitely not something I want to relive or experience again in my lifetime.
So powerful. I thank you for sharing that with us. And also, I mean, if you guys are just captivated by this story and just this woman in front of you and how you went through this and lived through this, she is actually writing her book right now, Prison to Prosperity. So she has a Facebook page. You can find her it's her Instagram handle, Prison to Prosperity, where she is, I'm sure right now in some ways mentally reliving as typing it out, even retelling the story here. And again, this is what I mean by she is so brave just to go back. And I mean, I see that in you, just that bravery to retell this, that it may reach one person who's going to go, this is me right now. So if you want to know more, I know I'm getting that book as soon as it is out. I'm messaging her like, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? Is it done? And I know it's been birthed, right? But we're shining it up right now. So definitely go like her page and follow along on Instagram for sure. Okay. So Prison to Prosperity is the Instagram handle again. Okay. So speaking to that woman who might be watching this, maybe she just got out of prison. Like, what was first, for those of us who were just curious, right, like myself, like what was that like? Because I didn't realize that you didn't know what day it was when it was coming. I mean, what was that like to know, oh my gosh, it's happening today. And then you get out. And what did that look like? Because you didn't have a job when you got out. Is that correct? Or it was still kind of up in the air, uncertain? Yeah, walk us through that.
I literally had nothing. My parents didn't even they weren't even sure that they wanted me to come home. Like it was a halfway house was an option, trying to find somewhere to live. And so they finally said, okay, we have a camper that you can come home to. And one of the things, you don't really realize whenever you're in that kind of situation, that when you go to prison, you don't really have the freedom. The world is a very small world. And so when you experience that, when you do get out, even though it was only 6 months, you've lived a whole different lifestyle in a I don't know, 6x8 cell, however small they are. They're super small. We had 3 to a cell. And when you live in such a confined small space like that, and you're not really given freedom to go a lot of places or go outside or all these things, and we would get locked down quite often. When you do get out, one of the things that is kind of a shock is that the world is a very loud place, very loud. Going to Walmart was overwhelming. Like you wouldn't think, but it was. Um, just simple stuff like that. It took me several hours to actually get home. Although I wanted to go home, my friend Vicky picked me up and she was bringing me. It was like I was putting it off because I hadn't been around real people in 6 months, and it was a lot. So, came home, got to meet my beautiful granddaughter. She was 4 months old. And you wonder, is this little creature gonna love me? So that was, tough. And my whole family was here. I think I didn't get here until 9 o'clock. Because I just was not, it wasn't that I didn't want to see him. It was just very emotional. Oh, I didn't think I was going to do this. But reliving everything when you write the book, it almost makes it so real again. But yeah, it was very uncertain. I had no job. So I immediately prayed about that, which I didn't really need any money at the time. I had the camper. I did get on public assistance before I got out of prison, which supplied me food. And so I had basic necessities. It was a very old little camper, and that was where we started out. My middle son lived with me there, and my youngest son was still living with my parents. So that's what we came home to.
Wow. So powerful. I mean, can we get some hearts in the comments? I don't know if you guys are lighting it up right now, but I mean, I don't know if there is not a heart that is not feeling this reverberate throughout their body right now. I mean, I'm shook. Okay, so thank you for walking us through that. But as you can tell, this story is not done because we know this, and it's still not done. But she's now currently running a 6-figure organization, driving a paid-for luxury vehicle, and we're going to get to how she's blessing the lives of her family. So let's rewind a little bit. So right now we're in a camper, going, what in the world? You've got your faith. We know that you're in a camper. And I know somehow you got a cell phone with internet because we ended up connecting.
Yes, I did.
I would love to talk about that. And I will say this, as you're saying that you were saying a prayer, I've got to find something. I started to personally get a little tap, 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 and I don't know where it came from. Again, I think it came from higher power, and it said you need to be really open to people just getting out of prison.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, all right. Okay, cool. And I did not know this story for a long time. I did not know. That's not something you ask, right? When people ask for information. So knowing that, I would love to know, okay, you're in the camper. Somehow we have a cell phone. Like, what was that? Like, what did getting back on your feet look like? How did the business cross your path? Like, just walk us through that. And especially, yeah, again, for that woman who literally might be watching this, and maybe they didn't just get out of prison, but going, I feel like I'm in that camper and I'm seeing like the bank accounts getting smaller. There's so many people, and maybe that's you right now, and you're like, I need to connect, right? You can comment. We're on Facebook Live right now. If you're listening to the podcast, my handle is at the Luna Ashley. If you're like, I need to know more about Marsha's story, her handle is at Prison to Prosperity. So you can get a hold of us. Like we're here. But for that person who's really resonating, like walk us through how you then made this connection to making online income from your phone.
Well, I started out, I had really prayed, like, what am I going to do? First of all, no one was going to hire me with a record, and I prayed like, Lord. And then the Lord sent me a job that I used to do, like before all of this had happened, someone that I'd worked for. And so out of nowhere, it just came together. And he had even started me out in an advance and paid me monthly. And I was like, great, let's do this. And so that was the money that I used to have internet and, get my phone bill paid and, whatever general necessities that I wanted. And being in prison, they feed you a lot of carbohydrates. So anybody, if you ever see them go to prison, you will see them gain a substantial amount of weight. Not anybody, but a lot of people. And then when you come out, you've got to deal with that. It's emotional. And the more carbs you eat, the more carbs you want. So my best friend's son was like, yeah, you need to do this keto thing. And I'm like, great. So I started studying up on keto and looking at different things and different products and all of this. And it was super overwhelming. I had no idea what I was doing. I did keto for a whole month and I lost 0 pounds. And I'm like, I don't even know. I am so frustrated. And in my research, you want to know what foods to cook. It was so confusing for me. I'm like, can someone just tell me the quick, easy, like, bop, 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 what do you got to do? And I was looking also, I thought I wanted to run a restaurant. I love to do food stuff. I love to cook. And so I was like, watch this lady on a keto kitchen, a vegan keto kitchen at that. I'm totally not vegan. But she was cooking for her and her husband. So she was vegan. He was not, but it was all keto. And so she had just a way about her. And she is the Luna Ashley. And so she's just casually cooking in her kitchen for her family. And she makes a quick, easy statement that says, hey, if you want to know how I cook for my family every day, like I would anyway, and make money, get with me, drop something in the comments. Well, I immediately messaged because I was like, I got to have some of that. What do you do? Like, do you have sponsors? And she's like, kinda. And so that's where our conversation started. I think I literally had only watched you once or maybe twice. And looking back, I think there was a girl named Jessica that I was watching too, that it was the two of you. And I thought, and somehow I got the two of you mixed up, and it's completely different teams. So I know that the Lord wanted me on this team under you. Like, God definitely put me there because I'm not vegan. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know your story of where you had come from or anything like that, but you were just a very easy to watch, friendly type person. Like, hey, if you want to know, and just very non-obtrusive. And I loved that. So I reached out and I'm like, tell me all the things. And you're like, sure.
I love it. Yeah. So I would say too, out of that if you are somebody watching this and you're feeling some kind of way, because I will tell you, I remember actually saying that, and that line wasn't something that wasn't something that I even thought of as a line. It was like, you need to say this. It actually made me kind of uncomfortable to be like, oh, because I do, like, we both do now, right? Like, we make our living in part by cooking online,
Right.
like we normally would do. And it was right around the time that I started praying that, okay, like, I'm open to whoever needs to find me, but specifically higher power was telling me from prison. And this, I don't know, I don't like to use the word line, but it didn't feel like something that was from me.
Right.
So I would say follow that, like the intuition. If there's anybody watching this going, oh, I feel called to like say this thing, do it because it's amazing. I even forgot that I said that
Yeah.
because I really feel like following that intuition is kind of what I believe we can trigger things in each other. And our stories are so different. I didn't have a huge weight loss story
Yeah.
for a totally different reason. So follow those little intuitive pings for sure. Okay, so you said yes, and I do remember the message. You were like, "If this works, I'm gonna join." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. That's fine." And then the rest isn't history. Let's walk through the EQ.
Yes,
Let's
let's,
walk
because
through
this
that
is
because
important.
there is lessons there. There is lessons there. So, yeah, you walk me through like what you like your journey of the systems, the training, and then coming back to what ended up working and making you the six-figure business owner.
So yeah, okay. So when I first came in, even from a customer point of view, I was very untrusting. Like even though I felt drawn to you, I still was like, let me just say this better taste good and better work. Like, listen here, sister friend, I'm just going to tell you. And you're like, oh, okay, whatever. And so you never pushed me like, oh, you got to get this. You need this. You need better mood, better energy, better focus, better balance. Like, you've got to have this. Well, you never sold me. Like, you just said, okay, I was like, this girl just got so much business that she can just like turn me away. I mean, really? Like, okay. And I looked at the group that I was in, which is amazing, by the way. If you want to be in a total group that is just embraces you, drop secret and we'll get you in there. But if you go in the group and you're looking, and at the time it was about 75,000 people. And I just thought to myself, Self, there is not any way on this earth that 75,000 fat girls are going to lie to me. Like, that's just not happening. We are not going to lie about any kind of fat loss. We're just not going to do it. We're very honest. If it don't work, we're going to tell you. And I was like, okay. So it wasn't anything that Luna did to convince me. She just didn't allow me to have time to convince myself. She allowed me the time to do my research in our group and to see all the things that I needed to see. And I made the decision of myself. And then I got the package and I'm like, oh, what have I done now? Because I've been duped so many times. And these pills from Dr. Oz or whoever, all these different things, Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig. And I felt like I'd eaten Jenny Craig. I mean, it was just so much. Nothing ever worked for me, literally nothing. And I am not a thin person right now. I could probably be a size 8 if I wasn't an emotional eater. But if I did not have this product in my life, there's no way I would have written a book. There's no way I'd have the focus to do it. There's no way I would have lost the 5 pant sizes that I have. There's no way, because I had zero success on keto by itself. I've seen my family, my friends, all of the massive positive effect in all of their lives consistently. Like, it's just duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. So I knew I had a great product. And so the first thing I did is I said, okay, my mom and my best friend, you guys got to do this with me. Like, come on board. And here Luna was like, okay, so after day 4, I'm like, great. I love the product. It tastes good. Come on, let's go. I want to do what you do. Like, I want to make money at this, because if I can make money, feel good, and help other people to feel good, I got to tell everybody under the sun about it. And she was telling me I could drink for free. And I'm like, tell me about that. Like, I want to know about that. She's like, well, all you need is 2 friends. Great. Okay. My mom and my best friend, we're on board. Come on, show me how to do this. And so I was very, 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 very uncoachable. And I'm so thankful that I did end up under this beautiful, amazing Luna, because she was so patient with me and she let me be exactly where I was at. And I thought, why does this woman keep tagging me in videos? I just want the answer. And little did I know that that was the answer. Like, here are all the resources that I want you to learn. And so it's a training process. And the training is, let me train you how to fish and you'll never be hungry. instead of just giving you fish. And so to me, it was directly related to what God was trying to tell me in my life. Like, okay, I'm going to supply all of your needs according to my riches and glory. But what you need to do is whenever I give you something, you need to recognize it. You need to celebrate it. You need to look and see, like, how can you learn from it and have more abundance and all that to come to you? Because until you really appreciate what you have, you can't expect anything else to come into your life. And so I spent the first several months being completely uncoachable and a total train wreck. And my business reflected such. And then just something happened. Like, I began to get it. Like, the systems didn't change. Of course, we have had changes here recently that are making them even better, but the systems that we had all along have been a wonderful resource. And if I just followed what I was told to do, then I would succeed. But it was left up to me. We have what's called a three-way chat. And so the first time I said, I can't sell this stuff. And she's like, quit trying to sell. Like, literally, what are you doing? Like, you just need to share what your experience is. And so I was like, show me. And so I was like, hey, do you mind if I put you in a three-way chat with my mentor? And they're like, sure. I said, she knows all the things. And they're like, okay. So I put her, and I just shut up. And instead of me trying to run, and I watched you literally take that person in a loving way, like, and just help them. I'm like, wow, that was done. Like, you just did that. Like, that just happened exactly the way you told me it should happen. I should be able to duplicate that. So it was just a matter of me being coachable to duplicate what systems there were. And I've never seen, and I've had a lot of high level training. I've worked for AT&T. I've worked for Apple. I've worked for online companies that are Canada, called Rogers. It's like an AT&T of Canada. I have worked for all kinds of places that have intense coaching, Walmart, and none of the training that I've ever been through can compare to what I went through with this. I mean, the training is just top notch. And more than that, your EQ of allowing me to be like, whatever, walk away and come back when I was ready. Like, you never chased after me and said, you need to do this. You need to get it together and quit posting crazy things and just do what I show you to do. And which was not really that hard, but I made it harder than what it is. Sometimes I think we overcomplicate things.
That is, thank you for sharing that. That is so beautiful. And I will just say this, if you're looking at this like, well, what was the magic that Luna said? It was literally, we have systems and we have certain things to be said. You call it a script if you want, and they're very simple.
Yes.
It was one of the videos that I tagged Marsha in. Of this is what you say, right? Like, this is, so I mean, I think I appreciate that so much, but everything is designed to be in a very loving way. And so it was so, thank you. It was such an honor to be able to just kind of like, here it is. I mean, just divine timing. So next, what came, okay, from my perspective, was after that three-way chat and that little taste of, oh, everything started to explode for this woman. And I would also say for leaders, if I could share really quickly, what Marsha said about how I would let her go and come back. I never chased her. I never said, why aren't you doing the system? Well, until you it was never that. So often, whether you're in our organization or it's just very common in network marketing in general, to just either write somebody off, or if you're not doing it my way, goodbye, right? To be a little sassy pants. And it's just, everybody's on their journey. And we've had, even our 7-figure mentor has said that your most successful people will be the ones that you don't handhold. And I will say, and I think Marsha will attest to that, I have never handheld. Like, we ask questions, we get answers when necessary, but it's not a codependency is very big in this industry. I don't know if you would agree with that, Marsha.
Very much.
Yeah, our relationship is never, like, it has always been like, okay, like, here's some coaching. Either I'm going to implement it, don't like that, okay, cool, and then maybe come back, right? And I will say that too. Maybe you're wondering, ooh, like, so you're saying my uncoachable people could become some of the biggest contributors to the business? Yes, that is exactly what I am saying. Is do not write anybody off, which really ties me into how you are with literally everybody on your team. And granted, you are somebody who is, you are bold. How you're like, I got my mom, I got my sister, like I'm gonna talk to everybody around me. You're such a lesson, even for me, about getting bold with family. Like talking, I'll just be honest, like talking scares me to death. But you've had massive success with that, and I think we can learn so much from that. And also, I would say this: what I see in you that I so admire, and I learn from you daily, is how am I talking? Like, what are the words that I'm speaking? Am I saying, well, they just don't want to work their business? I've never heard you say that ever about somebody. Like it's like that has never been. It's they're going through something or whatever it is, but it's never. And also another thing that I hear very commonly, well, why don't they get it? I never hear you say that about your business or about somebody in your organization, or why do they keep asking the same question? Never hear you say that. And I don't think that is a small coincidence. So anyways, I would love to have you talk about that. Yeah, just the belief that you have in your team.
Well, I kind of meet people where they're at. All right. So I know that just from my history, most people are full of fear. They don't trust the next thing. And that was my biggest thing. Like I was fearful, and I never really understood the words fear of success. But I think people are fearful in general. I know we all have a fear of failure, but I think there is a certain amount of fear of success. But kind of if you look at it this way, like I see people all the time, like they make every reason in the world to not go live. If they choose not to go live, that's fine. I totally get it. No big deal. But I will remind them, like if you really want to attract an audience, that's going to be your best route to do it. And so ultimately, the decision is left up to them. But one thing that I've learned from you is to whenever you start feeling a certain way, to lean into that and say, like, well, what do I need to learn from this? Where do I need to go from this? And I would get really disappointed in myself if I didn't meet a certain goal or I didn't achieve a certain thing. And I never celebrated enough my wins. And so when I look at my organization, and I will say that I was a little faster in the beginning to just be like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. And I just didn't really deal with it. But now sometimes, and the biggest thing that I've realized is this person may only do a small portion of business every month, but there's a lot to be said for consistency. So if that one person just does the same things every day and is consistent with it, whether they're doing one box or 100 boxes, like that consistency could take them a long way. But they're consistent most times because they have someone that believes in them. So when you do something, and I always like to compare it to riding a bike. All right. So if you get on a bike and you ride a bike for the very first time, you're going to crash that bike. You're going to fall. You're going to hurt yourself. And then you're going to be like, if it was left up to you, you'd never get on that bike again. But it's because of your family's belief in you that they tell you, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. That you get back up on that bike and you go again. And so as a leader, it's my job to get you back up on that bike, to be your biggest cheerleader, to be your biggest fan. That when you understand that people are going to have the bad days, they're going to have bad EQ, they're going to say inappropriate things. And, I'm not perfect either. So I'm going to have certain times that I'm just like, I can't do this right now. But instead of responding right away, there's no urgency. You have to deal with it in that moment. Sometimes it's best just to take a step back and say, wait a minute, how's this person, maybe this person's having something going on and they're just kind of lashing out because it has nothing to do usually with what you're dealing with. And so the baseline of it is you just have to love people wherever they're at, because the more people feel loved and accepted and embraced, the more they will thrive, period. I don't care on what level they're at or where they're at in their business. If they feel judged and condemned and cast aside, they're never going to make it. Just like if you fell off that bike and your loved one said, "You're a stupid idiot. You're never going to ride that bike." And they just walk away. What are the chances you're going to get back on that bike? Very little. So you have to be mindful that people are just, they need so much to be loved. And I think that's what our particular organization does so well and has really taught me more of, is just love people where they're at and believe that all of them are going to achieve the best success out the gate. I believe that they can, and the Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. So I believe everyone is, a leader and successful and all of that good stuff. So
I love that. And I think we can all take massive lessons from that, especially if you are in the industry and especially if you are a leader. And you are a leader even if you just join, because you have to lead yourself first. And I will say the level that you can even love yourself, be gentle on yourself, like that is something I've found that will reflect into your team. And I would just share this one thing, because Marsha did say this for fellow leaders out there. Marsha will say she was uncoachable. Marsha was coachable. And I will tell you how you need to be able to make this distinction, because there will be those who fall off the bike and then they scream, I'm not off the bike, and they're clearly off the bike, in denial. Right? You can't help a child that's off the bike if they're saying I'm still on the bike, or they're saying I'm on the bike, but you're looking and they're off the bike. Okay. Yeah. Marsha was always willing to say, well, I'm not making sales right now. Like, she was real able to say, this is where I'm at. So that's one thing. You can't bust somebody's denial. Marsha was never there. The second thing was, I would give her feedback. She would have her reaction, whatever it was. She would implement or not implement. But you know what she always did? She always came back around and she always implemented. So that would be the equivalent of the kid off the bike, skinned up knee, sniveling, whatever. You let their little tears dry and kind of, whatever. And I didn't do too much of that, right? It was like, I'd listen. All right, cool. Yeah, but I'd be like, how you get back up on that bike? You just swing your leg over.
Yep.
And some kids won't swing the leg over, but Marsha did. So she was coachable. I would say that's the one thing. Is like, you say you weren't, you had like periods maybe, where it's like, come on, swing your leg over. You're like, no, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go help the other kids over here right now who are swinging their leg over, right? And you circle back and Marsha's swinging her leg over. And before you know it, she's like on a marathon and has like biked 5 miles, all right? And it's like, whoo, that Marsha. So massive lessons to be learned. Thank you for everything you've taught me. Last thing that I want to touch on really, really, really quickly. Well, a couple things. One, this vision, like if you could just touch briefly on your vision. So I got a picture texted to me, because on our team, you get our personal cell phone numbers. So I get a picture texted to me, and she says, I'm going to be living in this by the end of the year. I'm going to repeat that. She texted me a picture of a multi-million-dollar, and with it was, and my team's going to come to it. We're going to do end of month stuff. This wasn't an activity. I wasn't like, it's time to manifest, Marsha, right? Like, write it out. It was like, I've been on Zillow, and yeah, this is happening. Like, it was stated, matter of fact, it's happening. She has a vision. She has massive vision. So I would love for you to talk on vision. And then also, I know your team is just blowing up. I mean, right now it's just a crazy time. What is even the date? Because we're going to have people listen to this on the podcast and go, did I miss that? March 28th of 2020. But there will still be you're here for a reason. So even if you're on the podcast, if you're here on live, there are incredible, you need to contact Marsha. Like, you just need to contact her. There are things going on right now. If you're like, I need that, okay, go ahead and just let us know in the comments, and she can get you taken care of. But the importance of vision, and for our newbies, if you are somebody who is new, like, what would you say to them? Just if you had one tip, like your one tip, what would you say? And just touch on the vision, because that vision, I was mind blown. I was like, I guess I need to find my multi-million-dollar home and send it to my upline. Okay, cool.
Well, there's two things, and it all kind of comes into belief. Okay. Are you coachable? Because to be coachable, you have to believe in the person that's coaching you. Okay. So even though I didn't always like what Luna told me, I would sit back and I'd take it in and I'd come back around and be like, okay, well, if she says this is going to do it, I'm going to do this. And if it fails, then I'll be able to say it doesn't work, but I'm going to do it if in case it does work. So I had enough belief because I saw what she was doing. And then when I first started out, I just thought it was great that I went from a tiny camper to a medium-sized camper. I just thought it was great that I went from the medium-sized camper to, wow, I'm about to earn a luxury vehicle. And I began to go car shopping and I ended up with this beautiful platinum Escalade. Or I started going car shopping and my parents are like, living in a camper driving an Escalade probably ain't going to go too much hand in hand together. So let's get you in this apartment. That's when I started paying rent. And then I was getting this vehicle based upon the faith that I was going to continue to grow my business. I was going to continue to achieve that rank that pays for that car every single month, and I really didn't have any hesitation of believing that, because if I've been blessed up until this point, surely that would just keep going. Like, I've seen the power of this business. I've not been in MLM before, but in the middle of a tragedy, like our organization, our company is saying, hey, if you were first front line in the health industry, send us an email for free. I was like, what for free? What? You're giving me something for free? Just because why? What do you want from me? Because nothing. Like, that's the kind of organization that we're in. Like, they are so, they embrace everything. And so with this company, they gave me a vision that I couldn't have before and said, do a vision board, where can you go? And I began to look at houses and it was great. I started looking at $500,000, $600,000 houses. Whereas before 150, I was looking at $40,000 pieces of property, that's where I was at. It's what you can see as to what will come about in your life. Like, I have no doubt that house that we've already picked out, that's been on the market for over 500 days, is still going to be on the market and ready when we're ready. Like, it's going to be right there. It's waiting. That house is our house. It has everything that we want. And, just like this truck was my truck. And I believe that with all that I am, because I believe that if you do the next right thing, great things are going to come into your life. I believe that, as the word says, through obedience comes blessing. I believe that. I do believe the story of Job. Job lost so much in his life, but he was restored so much greater. And I believe there's a season for all things, as it's taught in Ecclesiastes. This particular season of my life is a season of massive growth. You need to identify what season you're in. If you're a brand new mom, your calling in your season right now is to nurture that baby. If you're where I'm at, my nurturing needs to go into this book, which is where I can infect so many people with a massive positive tool that they can say, if she can do it, I can do it. And our mentor says all the time, I say these things not to impress you, but to impress upon you that if it can happen for me, it can happen for you. And I think sometimes when we say things out loud, it's really, really scary. Like, that girl, like, what is she? When I first started going live in the camper, they're like, what is she doing? What is she? And now they're like, what is going on over there? Like, she's buying AirPods for her and for son, and all of her family has iPhones and Apple Watch and cars, and she's not hurting for anything over there. Like, they're seeing that. It takes a lot of money to put gas in this massive vehicle. Like, I can afford to do that. That's a big deal to me. And so I now have a wallet full of credit cards. I never had that. And they're not all maxed out. I pay them off every month and life is good. And I think it's all in giving credit to, my belief, because without my belief in God, none of it works. And so that's where you have to stay grounded. And I have in my room, I have my vision board and I have my goals, and all of that not only incorporates the house that I want to get or whatever, and the people that I keep in the forefront of my mind in my business. But it also includes read my Bible every day, do personal development every day. If you're watching this or listening to this, you are personally developing your soul right now, whether you know it or not. You're feeding yourself with belief. You're feeding yourself with something that has the potential and the power to massively shift the direction of your life forever. And that's powerful. I never knew how powerful that was, like ever. But where your mind takes you, you'll see it show up in your world every time.
So powerful, so good. If you guys got some massive takeaways about the power of belief, the power of vision, and how that shapes your world, definitely let us know. And there are so many more. I mean, I know I'm personally going to come back and rewatch this. There's so much to glean. So thank you, Marsha, for this. Guys, keep in mind she does have her book coming out, so please go to her Facebook, Prison to Prosperity. You can
way more details there.
Yes, you can tag her over on Instagram. She's again at Prison to Prosperity. She has a podcast, Prison to Prosperity, as well. And if you need to get a hold of me, if you're somebody who's like, Luna, where's your Facebook go? I'm at the Luna Ashley. Everything over on Instagram is okay, so you can find me over there as well. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. If you did get value out of this, please just go ahead and make sure to drop a comment below. If you are live with us on Facebook, please share the video out so that we can thank you. That tells us that you enjoyed the content. So we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Marsha, I think you're going to have to shut this live down because you are host.
I think
we'll
so.
see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you so much. Bye.